Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see you all here, and I am so excited to be here myself. So as the title suggests, this is about participatory medicine through the lens of my story and how I think it can help improve healthcare at a personal level and at a big system level. And in the spirit of the talk, I want to encourage, I know we have 5 minutes at the end for questions and answers, but if something comes to mind while I'm speaking or you have something to contribute, please feel free to chime in. I really do believe in participation in all forms. So, okay, so synergy. The definition for synergy is technically when the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And we see it all around us. We see it in business. We see it in sports. We see it in music. And my question is, why don't we see it in healthcare? If healthcare had found some sort of secret, seek a holy grail of synergy, and it was really thriving, I think that would be awesome and that would be okay. But that's not the case. Many people would even say that the healthcare system is broken. We are certainly in the state of crisis here in the US. With unsustainable and rising costs, our healthcare economy in the US is the 6th largest economy in the world. So only 5 countries have economies bigger than our healthcare economy, which is pretty startling. And yet, we are still the outlier when it comes to quality of care as measured by life expectancy at birth. People are living longer. I should say also, things are only getting worse. People are living longer and sicker for a number of reasons. So really, it's a pretty grim situation. But there is one hope, which is that we're in the midst of a digital revolution. So there is a proliferation of information all around us. And people naturally are going to the internet to search for all information, including health information. Not only that, they're also able to connect to people from all across the world and information, all across the world at the click of a finger, which is really pretty powerful. So I think, the combination of a broken healthcare system and this changing digital landscape calls for a major paradigm shift in the way that we deliver healthcare in the US. So I am not an economist or a policymaker. I'm not a clinician, not a journalist or an academic either. So you may be wondering with good reason, who am I? And what do I have to offer to this conversation? So here's what I am. I am 28. I work in academic medical center in the marketing department. I recently got my master's degree in bioethics. And most importantly, I have a lifetime of experience as a patient with cystic fibrosis and CF-related diabetes. And 4.5 years ago, I became an ePatient. It was a completely transformative experience for me. And I just want to share some of the insights I've gained along my journey that I think can help change, or can help fix some of the vexing problems our healthcare system is facing. And so you may be wondering, what happened 4.5 years ago? Well, in short, I found the online CF community, and it's a community I never knew existed before, but it's a thriving community. It's thriving for a number of reasons, the first of which is that people with CF actually can't be together. There are unique cross-infection risks where, I have bacteria in my lungs that's not contagious to healthy people, but it's dangerous for other people with CF. And so we can't be together. We can't be in, in-person support groups. So the online community is really a lifeline, and it's the only place that we can safely come together and connect. The second is that people with CF do hours and hours of treatments a day, breathing treatments, airway clearance treatments, and they're loud, so I can't watch TV. They shake me, so I can't read. So the computer is a perfect place to go, and I time my treatments with my other friends with CF so that we're doing them at the same time, and it's perfect entertainment. So the third thing is that CF is a progressive disease. So as people get sicker, it is harder to get around, to engage in the outside world, and to breathe. And so, they become more homebound. And a lot of times they're still young, their minds are totally intact, and they, being able to connect to the online community gives them a portal to the world, to keep being social and to keep using their brain and to keep connected with their community. So that is pretty incredible. So despite this, the public emergence of my CF self, it came in stages. It started with interest. I searched for some blogs, and I ended up finding one blog of a young woman who was, she was smart, and she was educated, and she was, a professional, and the only thing getting in the way of her life was the fact that she was incredibly sick, and she was listing for a lung transplant. And I really connected with her blog, and so I became a devout follower of that blog. Then I started following a bunch of other blogs. I joined the online community first as a lurker, and then finally got the courage to participate. And now I have formed such close and deep personal relationships that they actually transcend our shared CF experience. So joining the online CF community changed my life. It provided a proliferation of information, like I said before. And people were talking and sharing about incredibly high quality information, accurate information, and information that I wasn't getting in the clinic. And so, actually through the online community, I found out about a clinical trial for an inhaled antibiotic, and I ended up sharing it with my doctor, and we ended up emailing back and forth with the principal investigator. Turned out I wasn't right for the trial, but I ended up using that drug, which is actually, it's an IV drug, and I used it as an inhaled drug. I reconstituted it. I've been using that for over 3.5 years, which coincides with how long it's been since I've been in the hospital last time. So it's been it really, really, it changed my day-to-day disease management in a really profound way. And of course, my doctor encouraged me to bring that information back, and I couldn't have done it without that active encouragement. But the other thing is that it provides incredible support. So, being able to connect with people who are living with the same disease, they're your cheerleaders, and they get it on a different level, and that kind of wisdom and advice and support is invaluable. The third thing I actually think is the most important, and that's empowerment. Empowerment to be a better advocate in my own healthcare, but also to advocate for other people. And, joining the online community inspired me to fundraise. My family and I have founded a nonprofit organization called Emily's Entourage that raises funds and awareness for CF research, and we have raised, in just shy of 2 years, over $500,000. So that all came from inspiration I got from the online community. And I think most importantly, it really helped me feel comfortable and proud to belong to the CF community for the first time in my life. And that was really transformative for me. So that's all well and good. But so what in the greater scheme of things? And I think joining the CF community changed me, but at a more important level, it changed my healthcare. It opened the door to more options and knowledge. When you are living with a rare disease and you have, I have advanced stage CF, and I was kind of running out of options. And so being able to connect with tons of, patients, and through the patients, their own healthcare teams, it opened the door to creative, innovative solutions that my doctor was really eager to hear about. And so that kind of crowdsourcing is a really powerful amplifier for the rare disease community. The second thing is that it totally changed the dynamics of my healthcare team. So we became collaborators, where I served as the micro expert. My doctor has 200, 300 CF patients who all have, different mutations of CF and all have different presentations of CF. So he can't possibly be a super, super expert on every single one of us. But I can be. I can be an expert on my disease and my presentation, and I bring that patient expertise to the table. And so as long as that is harnessed and leveraged by the healthcare team, that is a really, really powerful resource. I was already an adherent patient, and I was already very motivated, but joining the CF community raised the bar more than I ever expected. Connecting with patients who were doing the same things I was doing, who were doing some things much better than I was doing, it made me feel so much more accountable to something bigger than just me. And I think that was pretty powerful for me. And then it improved my outcomes. It allowed me to avoid ER visits, hospital stays. Like I said, I have been out of the hospital now for over 3.5 years, not only because of participatory medicine, but certainly largely because of it. And I don't think I could have been out of the hospital that long without participatory medicine. And hopefully it will help me prolong end-stage treatments like lung transplant. But I think it's even bigger than that. Joining the CF community transformed my role in the whole healthcare ecosystem. So it changed me from just a patient in sort of transactional clinical encounters to a policymaker, doing advocacy work. I got involved through the CF community in the CF Foundation. I was part of their strategic planning process. I represented the CF community and literally participated in charting the future of the CF Foundation, the national organization for cystic fibrosis. Like I said, I also, we started Emily's Entourage, a nonprofit, so we have raised tons of money that we are directing to CF research. And through that, we are actually influencing the research agenda. So, as medicine becomes more personalized and more mutation specific, it's going to become more important, I think, for individual patients and communities to sort of step up to the plate. And there are over 1,900 mutations of CF, and the new treatments are all mutation specific. And so I'm working with through the CF Foundation, working with specific labs to direct the research exactly to my mutation, which is pretty amazing. So really, it's a reconfiguration of healthcare as we know it, I think. And the patient is sort of the center of the wheel, but part of a universe of overlapping networks. I think there are benefits for all the stakeholders. For the patient, your voice is heard and your opinions matter. You have a responsibility and accountability, and your goals guide decisions. For providers, your time with patients can be higher quality and more efficient, and your patients are more invested, adherent, and healthy, which I think is everyone's goal. Payers, costs are lower, and medical and operational costs, and you're able to, the care is higher quality because there can be a focus on prevention and wellness and disease management as opposed to sort of, retrospective care and episodic care. I think for every single person in this wheel, I think every single person benefits from this reconfiguration of healthcare. So, I think it's a win-win-win for everyone involved. And I want to make it clear that I don't think participatory medicine can fix everything. But I do think it's an essential part of the solution. And even more importantly than that, I think, in a nearly $3 trillion healthcare crisis where, quality of care is astoundingly low, given how much we're spending especially, it's the low-hanging fruit in this situation. And, I think it's something that we can grab onto, and there's something we can do about it right now. We don't have to wait for legislation to pass. We don't have, that's part of it, but I think there's a lot of stuff we can start doing right now. So you may be wondering why, if this is such a great idea and it's such a, it's so logical, why hasn't it been enthusiastically adopted? So I think there are some significant obstacles. First of all, it's suffering from an identity crisis, between shared treatment decision-making, collaborative care, patient-centered care. People are using lots of different terms to refer to similar concepts. I think that if we can unite under one term that's sort of an umbrella for all these similar concepts, we might be able to gain a lot more momentum rather than having the community support be fragmented. I think, really participatory medicine clashes with the traditional medical culture, which, has typically been pretty top-down and paternalistic. There's a lot of fears about patients having access to information, the accuracy of the information. We heard a lot about that earlier today. There are misaligned incentives. So a lot of physician activities that are part of participatory medicine are not recognized by compensation models. And I think that's a fundamental problem. Also, physician and healthcare team time constraints is a major issue. And then privacy and malpractice concerns very significant issues too. And while I think all of these are really legitimate obstacles, if you think about the stakes of the situation, you know, $3 trillion healthcare crisis, low quality of care, I think a lot of the stakeholders are feeling pretty unhappy and unfulfilled by the current situation, feeling like we can do better. I feel like a lot of these obstacles are pretty surmountable if we come together and try to brainstorm about ways to deal with them. So, you know, it's kind of like, given the stakes of the situation, these feel like things we can work through. And, you know, like I said, there's something we can do about a lot of these things. You know, we can come together. We can come up with a name that we want to encompass all of this. I remember going to someone at, you know, the hospital where I get care and actually where I work, and talking about participatory medicine. And she's the patient and family center coordinator. And she looked at me like I was talking, you know, in a totally foreign language. She had never heard the concept before. Meanwhile, this is the same thing. She's doing the same thing. She's just calling it something different. She called it patient and family-centered care. And so I think there really is an opportunity to come together and think creatively. So, and make healthcare ultimately better for everyone who is involved. And as Atul Gawande explained in his recent article, sometimes even the best ideas take a really long time to catch on. In fact, a lot of times, you know, the pace of adoption is not correlated with how good an idea is. So I think at the end of the day, it's really up to all of us, up to me, up to you, up to everyone here who is really committed to this cause, to get the ball rolling and to tell our success stories, to tell the success stories of participatory medicine, and to learn from the success of using synergy in so many different industries and bring that to healthcare. Thank you.